crazy, bear with me. So like I said, I am the Events and Catering Director at the Florentine, which is one of the oldest buildings in Birmingham. We were built in 1926, and it's a great place. So I am a third generation Auburn graduate. I majored in communications with a concentration in hospitality. I graduated in December of 2019, which was the worst possible time to graduate with an events degree because of what happened in March. My advice to you in college is to befriend your advisor. They will get you in places and introduce you to people that will make your career. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was introduced by my advisor to a florist in town who actually worked for Cardi B and Missy Elliott and Lizzo and what was it? The Missy Elliott music video that came out like 5 years ago about the sweets and all of that. She was the production designer for that. She did Cardi B's baby shower. So befriend your advisors. They will introduce you to the right people. Like I said, it was the worst possible time to have an events degree because on March 14th, 2 months and 12 days after I graduated, the world shut down. Nothing happened. No parties, no events, no nothing. We all just sat there and looked at each other for 6 months. Awful. The silver lining of the shutdown was I was able to learn the ins and outs of the software that we use at work. What we're able to put all our notes in to keep track of what's going on, when it's going on, things like that. Most people don't have that. So I was very fortunate to be able to get to learn how to do our system the way we need it done. Fortunately, since then, things have opened back up, and I've been able to spend the last 5 years, almost 5 years, surrounded by fabulous parties, galas, just incredible things. Anybody know what makes these events, parties, and things so fabulous? Any idea? I'll tell you, planning. Planning is key. The one thing that I can tell you about my job, and I cannot stress this enough, is write everything down. It's my job to make sure that the florist, the bartenders, the security, the baker, the caterers, the setup team, the cleaning crew, wait staff, and my clients know what's going on, when it's supposed to happen, all of those things. Be detailed. Write it down because you will not remember it. And when I say write it down, I mean pen to paper. Keep a handwritten copy of everything. A paper trail will save you many times, as it has done me. Don't rely on technology. Technology is wonderful in so many ways, but technology fails. Paper doesn't. Servers go down, computers get hacked. May seem like you're doing double duty, keeping your handwritten notes and putting them in the computer, but 2 weeks ago when our servers went down and I could not access any of my files, I had a paper trail so I could go back and say, okay, this is what we agreed, this is when it's supposed to happen. It was a lifesaver. The next thing in how to be successful is be organized. What good is having it all written down if you can't find it? Find a system that works for you. The system that works for you may not be the same system that works for everybody. I personally have an old-fashioned filing cabinet about the size of that one. And each client has their own file. Everything associated with that client goes in that file. At the end of the year, they're boxed up, they're put in the attic of the building. Hopefully, never to need them again. But let's say a year goes down the road, somebody says, oh, by the way, this didn't happen. according to your file, it did. We did what we were supposed to do. Another thing that I discovered recently, I'm gonna sit on this. If it drops me, y'all laugh. Another thing that's almost as important as being detailed and thorough is have the client sign off on everything. I'm not talking an e-signature. I want a pen to paper signature, because a client recently came back and said, we didn't agree to this. This was supposed to happen, but this is what happened. I said, no. Is this not your signature on this piece of paper? Well, it's an e-signature. Anybody could have done it. I said, okay, let's flip the page. Their actual signature was on it. Have them sign off on everything. I had one client, she wanted chargers. Y'all know what chargers are? The things that go under dinner plates, make it fancy. She wanted a certain shade of gold. Those didn't exist. So we upgraded her. She was livid. She was absolutely horrified. But we had a little addendum caveat situation in our contract that said we reserve the right to make substitutions if what you want is not available. And because we had her pen to paper signature, there's nothing she could do about it. And it saved us, it really did. The stories I could tell you about clients. Clients are a pain, sometimes. You have to be personable in this world. If people don't like you, you won't make it far. You won't make it far at all. You may hate people. You really may just absolutely despise them. They can't know that. You gotta fake it. You gotta fake it until you make it. You'll encounter every kind of person that you could ever imagine. Personalities across the board. They have to think you love them. Grit your teeth, smile through it, it'll all work out. Another part of my job is that I am also my own secretary. I am in charge of answering the inquiries, the phone calls, all of those things. When you get an inquiry, when you get a phone call, when somebody says, hey, I'm interested in your services, can you help me? Get a name, a phone number, and an email address for every person you talk to. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I've needed it and not had it, and it has not been kind. Along with being my own secretary, I'm also in charge of getting quotes, prices, intel on things my clients may want. I had a client that wanted a lounge, which is, the couch, the two sofas, the coffee table, all that fun stuff. You're in charge of that. The client wants a stage. You're in charge of that. I had a client once that wanted an ice sculpture that shot champagne. You're in charge of that. A way to be successful, there's a lot on your plate, I'm not gonna lie to you. A way to be successful in that is to make friends in the industry. Make friends with the furniture people, the photographers, the ice people, the lighting designs, the linen companies, all of those things. It will make your job easier. It certainly has made mine easier. These friends can be very helpful to you because you can call them at the last minute. I had a client 2 weeks ago maybe that decided a week before her wedding, she hated the color palette, she wanted to change it all, everything had been paid for, it was a nightmare. Had I not been friends with the linen rep, we'd have been stuck. There would have been nothing we could do. But because I was able to pick up the phone, call her and say, hey, I need to change all of this and we're not paying for it twice, can you help me out? We were able to make it work. You're also in charge of canceling those quotes. When I first got started, I forgot to cancel a cake quote. The day of the wedding, the cake we went with, the groom's cake, showed up in place. About 2 hours before guests were supposed to arrive, a third cake showed up because I forgot to cancel the cake quote. Guess who had to pay for that? Not a fun time. Not a fun time. You don't want something to show up that you don't actually need. All of that being said, it goes back to be organized, be detailed, be thorough. So during the event itself, I'm the boots on the ground. I'm there making sure things are happening when they're supposed to happen, how they're supposed to happen, and be ready to troubleshoot when things go wrong. This morning, for instance, I had built in time, a little extra time. I've never been here before. I built in some extra time to make sure I was here on time. And as you all know, I was not. I woke up this morning with 2 flat tires. Some things can't be helped. Things are gonna go wrong. Things are going to blow up in your face and be awful and horrible and miserable and terrible. Your job in the event, as head of events, wedding coordinators, anything in the hospitality industry, is be ready to troubleshoot. Things are going to go wrong. You just gotta be, again, you gotta fake it till you make it. But in an event, because you've planned everything to the nth degree, you know what's happening, you have a plan, you'll be able to fix it. This job is stressful. You're gonna have sleepless nights. You're gonna have those days where you think that nothing you do is what you should be doing. Events bring out the worst in people. I have been called horrendous names by clients. So you need to be tough-skinned. You have to be able to separate your personal feelings from your professional feelings. But the best feeling in the world is when a client comes back a week after their wedding, a week after their party, and says how much your hard work meant to them, that their day would not have happened without you. That makes it worth it. You're gonna wear a lot of hats in this industry. You're gonna be your client's therapist. You're gonna be their planner. I have had to bake cupcakes for a client before. You'll be their florist. You'll be their chauffeur. I have even had to take care of somebody's dog during their wedding. The dog was a groomsman or whatever. And the dog decided it was going to get restless during the ceremony, so I'm the one that had to take it out and walk around the church and all that fun stuff. Just get ready, because it's a roller coaster. But I couldn't see myself doing anything else. It's got its highs and lows, it's got its ups and downs, but it is the best job in the world. There are days when nothing's going on in the office. So those are the days that I catch up on phone calls, on paperwork, on filing, on all that sort of stuff. But like I said, in order to be successful, you've got to be organized. You've got to write stuff down. You've got to figure out how to make it work for you. I have friends that are planners in bigger cities, and they'll make $100,000 off a wedding. That's their portion, how much they pocket. If you're good at this, the sky's the limit. I mean, the sky is the limit. And like I said, it's the best job that I could ask for. I think that's all I got.
Good job. Thank you. Okay, so there's some questions, and who would like to read one? I know no one's probably gonna volunteer.
I'll read one.
Yes, I know. Okay, just you can just draw one. No, that one's kind of two part, but that one might be two. Yeah. Okay, you wanna go first?
Oh, sure. Wait, does still go?
Yeah, go ahead.
How many events do you coordinate in a year?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So it really depends, year to year. The month of December, let's say, I have an event every day from December 1 to December 23rd. I'll be working 12-hour days the whole month of December. But the month of August, I had one event the whole month. And because where I work, we don't just do weddings. We do corporate events, we do galas, we do sorority formals, things like that. And we also do off-site stuff. We're a catering company, we can cater anywhere. I would say anywhere less than 200. But that could be 10 people, that could be 10,000 people. It just really depends on what, and the economy plays a lot into that. When things don't cost as much, people are spending more money. But I would say less than 200.
Go ahead. Alright.
How has technology changed the landscape of event planning during your career?
So, artificial intelligence has actually become one of the tools that we're in the process of learning how to use. When people send us DMs on Instagram, Facebook messages, things like that, we are in the process of setting up an AI to respond and say, hey, thank you for reaching out, give us your contact info, and somebody will reach out to you. And that makes my job easier because I'm not having to, on top of answering emails, sit and just refresh all day, watching for Instagram DMs and things like that. So AI is becoming very helpful in that. It's also slightly concerning because I don't like things that are smarter than me. And AI seems to be that.
It's good in that, like it's scary, but yet it's useful.
Oh, absolutely.
I use it here too, so.
Really? I'm interested to see what the next 5 years holds, where technology is concerned. We just got back from a conference that brought in wedding professionals from all over the country. And that's what everybody was talking about, is just, because AI is here. There's nothing, it's not going anywhere. We've got to embrace it and make it work for us, otherwise it'll leave us in the dust. So I'm interested to see what the next couple of years holds.
Yeah, me too. Girls?
So for those aspiring to enter the field of event planning, what advice would you give to them?
How old are y'all?
14, 15.
Oh God, to be young again. Before you dive intern with event professionals, because this job is not for everybody. I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but if you don't have the personality for this, it will chew you up and spit you out. But in the hospitality world, there are so many facets. You don't have to go into event planning. You could go into client relations. You could go into floristry. You could go into catering. You know, there's so many angles to look at it. But if event planning is something that you're interested in, I would definitely say intern before you fully commit. And just make sure it's something that you can handle.
And that's what I kind of mentioned yesterday, and I've talked a couple of different times. We did careers yesterday. And then they're gonna research careers starting tomorrow. So, different, and then, I don't know if they knew that yet or not, but, that's what they're going to be doing. And, I mentioned yesterday in PowerPoint about internships, and, you know, building relationships, networking.
Yes, networking is key in any field, but especially something like this when you're all under such high pressure from your clients. Having those friends in the industry that understand what you're going through can be very helpful. But yeah, an internship is the way to go, just to fully make sure that this is what you want to do.
Can you provide any advice on balancing client expectations with your budget constraints?
Budgets are my least favorite words because, well, expectations and budgets. Pinterest, is that still relevant? Do people still use Pinterest? No. I forget what the youths are doing. You may see something on Pinterest and say, oh my God, this is fabulous, this is what I want, do it for $1,000. It ain't happening. Being upfront with your clients right out of the gate, okay, this is what you like, this is our budget, how do we compromise? How do we find that sweet spot? Just be transparent. Let people know up front, this is going to cost a significant amount of money. Be ready. When I work with my clients, my first meeting, after they book with me, never do anything until a contract is signed, because they'll waste your time forever. Once a contract is signed, my first meeting with a client is your wish list meeting. You tell me everything you could ever possibly want. Show me those Pinterest inspirations. Show me the design boards. Show me all of that. And after that, you get a line-by-line itemized statement with a bottom dollar. You want this vision, it is going to cost you this much money. And then that way they can come back and say, oh, you told us it was gonna be this amount, blah, 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 blah. No, this is what you want, this is what it costs. And it's an uncomfortable conversation. Nobody likes to talk about money. Weddings aren't cheap. I think I read the other day that the average wedding is now like $50,000. Just make sure it's a conversation they're prepared to have. Have that conversation right out of the gate. Get the expectations leveled, and go from there. They will appreciate you more for being upfront with them than if you let them think they can have the world on a shoestring budget.
Okay, I was going through to see, how do you stay up to date on the latest trends?
Ooh, that's a fun
What
one.
emerging, are there any trends that you see kind of emerging?
I am seeing not so much emerging trends as things that are being phased out. Like the boxwood walls, the green walls with the neon signs, things like that. That's kind of on the way out. But to stay on top of the trends that are coming, have friends in the industry, have friends all over the country. that are in weddings, in events, that can say, oh, we're seeing a lot of this, we're seeing a lot of that. And I'll tell you this, in the South, brides have a very set expectation and aren't very trendy. It's more classic. So don't go in thinking you're gonna do big ceiling installs with florals and big things like that, because in Alabama that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna have brides that wanna go that adventurous. But trends change, so maybe by the time y'all are in the world, the event world, you'll be able to talk brides into that. But just know you'll see a lot of the same thing. Wasn't a very good answer, and I know that it wasn't a very good answer, but it's all I got.
Let's see, what else do I have? Does anybody have any questions that have come up since he's been talking? So you already answered that one.
I got up at 6 a.m. for this. I'm gonna need some questions.
Yes.
Would you say that like this like takes a toll on like your mental health like really, really bad?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, like I said, it's worth it. You'll have those days where you are just down in the dumps. Clients have gotten upset with you, you've had some hard phone calls to make. But you have to separate professional and personal. Know that it's not personal. They are not coming after you. They are just upset at the situation. So you have to be able to separate. You have to put a divide there. And it took me about 2 years to be able to realize that. Like I said, weddings bring out the worst in people. The absolute worst. But again, you've got to know that it's not directed at you personally. It's at the situation. But yes, it can take a toll on your mental health. You just gotta figure out how to make it work for you so that you're not curled up in a ball. And it took me about 2 years to figure that out.
Out of all the events that you have planned, do you have a favorite or most memorable? What made it special?
I have a most memorable. It was not my favorite. It was, I don't want to use horrifying, but we'll call it horrifying. I had a bride that one of her groomsmen was a hamster. A live hamster in a little tuxedo that was kicked down the aisle in a hamster ball. Like a full-on old school, just punted down the aisle. And then during the reception, they used the hamster ball as a soccer ball. Well, the hamster died. In the ballroom, the hamster died. So I had to deal with a dead hamster in a hamster ball. That would be up there on the most memorable. Favorite event? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because I put so much of myself in all of the events, by the time they actually happen, we're family. I mean, I know so much about you, and that's what you want. You want to build those strong bonds with clients. You want them to be able to trust you. They're trusting you with one of the most important days of their lives. To you, it's just another Saturday, but to them, it's their wedding day. You want to have those strong bonds. And I don't think I could pick a favorite because they've had such, all of my weddings have been such unique events because my clients are such unique individuals, so I don't think I could pick a favorite.
Do you like doing weddings versus like galas and corporate events, or?
They are separate beasts.
Yeah, I can see that.
Weddings, you spend a year, 18 months on, Whereas a corporate event, let's take this week for example. Somebody called me yesterday for a luncheon tomorrow. So I don't have as much time to get invested in corporate events. But usually corporate events have a lot bigger budget, so you can do a lot more fun stuff with it. If I had to pick though, I'd say rehearsal dinners are my favorite because they're not as stressful as weddings. They're not as short-lived as corporate events. They're in that sweet spot. And there's not as much pressure on a rehearsal dinner. So I'd probably say a rehearsal dinner.
And you were talking about the ice sculpture.
Uh-huh.
Did that happen?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So ice sculptures actually are one of the trends that are coming back. I have a brilliant sculptor who is from Switzerland. And we discovered that you can't pour anything through the ice sculpture that does not have an extremely high alcohol content because alcohol does not freeze. So we were trying to pour like a juice through the ice sculpture to have it come out and do what it needed to do, and it was freezing. So probably shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to. My sculptor, pulled out a jar of moonshine, like old school Kentucky moonshine, because it's got such a high alcohol content. He poured it through and it was able to melt the juice to get the sculpture back flowing. It was a fun time. We also had one. It was a big corporate event for the World Games that had this huge ice sculpture, and they dropped it, putting it up, and it shattered. So he had to get his tools out and just shave off the shattered bits. Fortunately, nobody knew it. But yeah, ice sculptures are on the way back.
I'll never forget David had a cheesecake bar, and that was probably the best thing about, not the best thing, but it was up there. There was all kinds of toppings. The cheesecake was in individual cups, but there was 500,000 toppings, and I just remember it being delicious.
I'm a cheesecake lover, so when they brought that idea of a cheesecake station, I said, oh yeah, let's do it, and just run with it. You give me an idea, and I'm gonna run with it.
Yeah.
I tell my clients, I'll spend as much money as you'll let me. At some point, you just have to slap my hand and say, we'll stop. But the cheesecake bar, that was a fun one.
How do you measure success in an event?
Nobody ends up in the hospital. Nobody ends up in jail. No, I'm kidding. As long as your clients leave happy, it was a success. Because every event is so different, there's not really a scale for success. It's really just as long as your clients leave happy.
We had, I just thought of this. Did anybody do the Florentine when we had the venue research? I know in other classes they did. I didn't know if anybody, when you had to pick a venue and then you had to research, find information.
Is that the hotel thing?
Yeah, some were hotels, I think. They were all different event areas. We did an assignment where they had to pick a venue and then find out the information of the venue.
Okay,
And Florentine was one of them.
fine.
But I guess nobody in here, they could pick which one they wanted.
Gotcha.
And they did, went to the website and found the information
Fine.
from
Okay.
all that. But that could have been when the server was down.
Could have been. We lost all computer access for 10 days, which is, in the event world, you're done. Because if you're not getting new business, if you can't communicate with your current clients, you're dead in the water. We were very nervous.
Oh, that. Well, my emails kept coming back and I was like, I wonder what's going on, and then I think I tried to get on the website,
Uh-huh,
and it was messed, and I was like, huh.
yeah.
And I was thinking, please don't tell me he doesn't work here anymore.
No,
I was like,
no,
please don't
no.
tell me that it's like, you know,
No.
but yeah. Well, we've got to get out of here at 9 o'clock, so just a little bit left. But, thank you so
Of
much
course.
for coming and talking. I enjoyed it. And John went. Yeah.
Like I told you, I wrote it at 3 a.m., so if anything didn't make sense, I apologize.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wanna say?
Questions, comments, concerns, curiosities?
Curiosity.
Sweet.